Hi, everyone, and welcome to week four's lecture for this week. There's no PowerPoint that's associated with this, but I wanted to just briefly go over how to actually go through the search methodology and develop this section of your paper. You can see that I have journal number 1 pulled up for you, and this is basically just because you're going to be able to steal some of the work that you've already done in journal number 1, and you're going to be able to hopefully, help that section out for search methodology. So right here through pretty much the rest of this is going to be the sections that you can use from journal number 1 to put into your search methodology. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to explain to me or the reader of your paper how you found your 3 main articles. And I know I went over this already, so you can review back to week number 1 if you want, if you need definitions of these terms again. But what were your main search terms? What were the alternatives? What were the mesh terms? How did you further narrow it down? What types of studies we're gonna go through? You're gonna explain to me in your paper how you found your randomized controlled trial. That's going to be one paragraph. Another paragraph is going to be how you found your systematic review or meta-analysis, and your third paragraph is going to be how you located your specific clinical practice guideline. Typically, overall, this section can be 3 to 5 paragraphs. Sometimes you need to expand upon some of the search criteria. Maybe you have 2 RCTs to explain and to relate back to your PICO question if you need more evidence. But everybody's project is a little bit individualized. So 3 to 5 paragraphs max for this section. How many studies did you locate in your systematic search? Again, how were these narrowed and how were they limited? And how many studies did you select? Again, you should have 3 main articles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up some old papers that I have had from previous students and go through kind of how they narrowed it down. Okay, so this is a search methodology section. And she starts off with literature searches on the topic of interest were performed using Medline and CINAHL Complete. So those are the databases that she used. Okay, so the main terms utilized were the ketogenic diet, type 2 diabetes, and hemoglobin A1C. The following are the search terms in different combinations. So these are her mesh terms. So she used ketogenic diet or low carb, high fat diet or very low carbohydrate diet, and type 2 diabetes mellitus and hemoglobin A1C or glycated hemoglobin or blood glucose. So these are all of her mesh terms that she used. The limiters, so these are some of the ways that she narrowed things down, would be English language. Publication dates are listed there. Adult population, and she wanted to look at randomized controlled trials. And then these terms and limiters yielded 234 results as above. And after reading the abstracts, the appropriate article relating to the PICO question was found. Okay? So this is how she found her randomized controlled trial. And honestly, like I said, going off of specific examples from previous students, I would have liked her to kind of narrow this down and just kind of specify this is how, after reading the abstracts, the appropriate article. I would have wrote, after reading the abstracts, the randomized controlled trial was selected and related to the PICO question. So then she went into how she conducted her search for her meta-analysis, okay? So secondly, a conducted search through Medline, so this is her database, led to the meta-analysis. The search terms included, so she listed all her search terms, which are really, these are her mesh terms, and then she wrote out the limiters, and this is what she yielded. So she yielded 75 results, okay? An evaluation of publications led to the selected meta-analysis best related to the topic of interest. Another thing that you can kind of do, which this student did not do, which is why I brought up this example, is you can start by saying the main search term was, let's say, ketogenic diet, which resulted in however many results. It was further narrowed down by adding mesh terms, which included glycemic control or hemoglobin A1C, which further narrowed down the results to whatever the number was. The limiters were set for English and language and publication dates for this, And that further yielded 75 results, and then you can add that last sentence. So I want to see a stepwise approach as to how you kind of got to where you did, okay? And then lastly, the search term here is to find the clinical practice guidelines. So she used Medline again. The various combinations included here, English language, publication dates, and this yielded 7 results, and the guideline was selected based on the recommendations and relevance to the topic. So that is the one example I wanted to show you. And the other example I wanted to show you was here. Let me just blow this up a little bit for you. So search methodology, again, this is a different student's paper. The researcher utilized PubMed and Medline databases to obtain literature relating to the topic of evidence, relating to the use of SAPs and CLIDS, which are basically insulin pumps for kids, for glycemic control in children with type 1 diabetes. The main terms used to yield the articles obtained were type 1 diabetes, and she goes through all of them, okay? And I like to have the search terms in quotations. So for this specifically, I like to have this in quotes, okay? Alternative terms were, and she used the alternative terms, mesh terms were here, and the demographic was genders, non-specific school-age children up to 18 years of age, and it kind of goes through the rest of this. So then she goes through and she shows how she was able to find, using the quotes here, how she was able to find her randomized controlled trial, okay? And then finally, a search through Medline here, she was able to find her systematic review using all of these results here. And then finally, she was able to find her clinical practice guideline through the same search. So she had a little bit of a different search. So she had her randomized controlled trial here and then her other 2 main articles through the same search. So it's all how you found your articles, and it's okay if you didn't write it down. Try to reenact how you went through the process to find those things, okay? So like I said, it's just a start to finish. It's just the process of showing me how you actually came to finding your 3 main articles and how you narrowed your searches down. And I will, obviously provide revisions and be able to help you through this process if needed. And that is it for week 4's lectures. And if you have any questions, please let me know.